She pinned a 260-pound Army wrestling champion in 47 seconds. She submitted a 6'4" judo black belt in under 2 minutes. She threw a professional boxer so hard he refused to get back on the mat. In 1971, Margaret the Immovable Kovacs had defeated every man who stepped onto the mat with her. Every single one. 34 consecutive victories against male opponents. 0 losses. 0 draws. No man had lasted more than 4 minutes against her. She was the most dominant female grappler in the Western Hemisphere, and she wasn't shy about saying so. But on the afternoon of September 14, 1971, inside a small private gymnasium in Oakland, California, Margaret Kovacs would meet a man who weighed 135 pounds. A man 95 pounds lighter than her. A man who had never competed in a single wrestling match in his life. And in front of 40 witnesses, everything she believed about fighting, about strength, about dominance, would be dismantled. Not in minutes, in seconds. This is what happened inside that gymnasium. This is the story that 40 people swore they saw, and only a handful ever believed. Oakland, California. Wally J's Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Sunday afternoon, September 14, 1971. 2:15 p.m. The gymnasium is modest, 40 feet by 60 feet. Concrete walls painted cream. 2 large mats cover the floor, competition grade, red and blue. The ceiling is low, industrial lighting, the hum of fluorescent tubes. The smell is old sweat baked into canvas, chalk dust, rubbing alcohol. There are no bleachers, no grandstand. Folding metal chairs line the walls, maybe 50 of them. 40 people fill the space. Martial artists, judo players, wrestlers, a few curious instructors from nearby schools. Wally J, the legendary jiu-jitsu master, has organized this as a private demonstration day. Different styles, different approaches, friendly exchanges, no trophies, no rankings, just martial artists testing ideas against each other. The atmosphere is informal but charged. Everyone here is serious. Everyone here has trained for years. And everyone is here because word has spread about the main event. The woman who pins men. Margaret Kovacs is going to demonstrate. Margaret the Immovable Kovacs. Born in Budapest, Hungary, 1943. Moved to the United States in 1956 at age 13. Started Greco-Roman wrestling at age 15 at a time when women simply did not wrestle. Not in America. Not anywhere. Her father, István Kovacs, was a Hungarian national wrestling champion. He trained Margaret the way he trained his sons. No concessions, no lighter workouts, no gentler expectations. By age 20, Margaret was defeating men twice her age in local competitions. By 25, she was the unofficial women's wrestling champion of the Western United States. But there was no official women's division. So Margaret competed against men, and she won. Her physical statistics were extraordinary. 5 feet 11 inches tall, 230 pounds of dense, trained muscle. Her neck measured 18 inches around. Her thighs were 29 inches in circumference, larger than most men's waists. Her grip strength tested at 180 pounds per hand, stronger than 95% of the male athletes at her gym. She could deadlift 405 pounds. She could carry a 200-pound man on her shoulders for a quarter mile without stopping. She was not simply strong for a woman. She was strong, period. Her record spoke louder than her body. 34 consecutive victories against male opponents in open grappling competitions between 1967 and 1971. Her methods were devastating. She specialized in the body lock, a Greco-Roman technique where the wrestler wraps both arms around the opponent's torso and squeezes. Margaret's body lock had been measured at over 600 pounds of compressive force. Men described it as being trapped inside a car crusher. Once she locked her hands, the match was over. No man had broken her grip, not once in 4 years. Her average match time against male opponents was 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Her fastest victory, 23 seconds against a 195-pound collegiate wrestler who tapped out from a standing body lock before they even hit the mat. He later said he felt 3 of his ribs shift. But Margaret's dominance went beyond technique. Her personality was her weapon too. She was loud. She was confrontational. She believed, with complete sincerity, that Western wrestling was the supreme martial art, that grappling was the only real form of fighting, that strikers, punchers, kickers were all pretenders playing a game. And she said so, publicly, frequently, in martial arts magazines, at seminars, at competitions. She had a habit of attending striking demonstrations and heckling from the audience, calling out karate practitioners for practicing fantasy fighting, telling kung fu instructors that their art was a dance recital. She had a particular contempt for Asian martial arts. She considered them theatrical, impractical, built for demonstrations, not combat. She told a reporter from Black Belt magazine in 1970, "Show me a kung fu man who can stop a double-leg takedown. Show me a karate black belt who can escape my body lock. You can't. Because once a grappler gets hold of a striker, the fight is over, every single time. That's not opinion, that's physics." This attitude earned her enemies. It also earned her invitations. Tournament organizers and gym owners loved the controversy. Margaret Kovacs versus your best man. The challenge was irresistible, and she never lost. Her confidence was built on an unbroken foundation of victories. Every man she'd faced had confirmed her belief. Grapplers beat strikers, strength beats technique, and nobody beats Margaret Kovacs. Wally J. invited Margaret to his demonstration day for precisely this reason. He wanted fireworks. He wanted a spectacle. But he also wanted to test something. He'd been talking with a friend, a martial artist from Los Angeles who had his own theories about grappling, about size, about the limitations of strength when confronted with something faster, something different, something that operated on principles most fighters had never encountered. Wally J. had invited Bruce Lee. Margaret doesn't know this yet. She's been told she'll face a selection of volunteers, men from various martial arts backgrounds willing to grapple with her under modified rules. Takedowns and pins count. Submissions count. Strikes are not permitted. This is her world, her rules, her domain. She's warming up on the mat, stretching her massive shoulders, rolling her neck. The 40 spectators watch her with a mixture of fascination and apprehension. Some of them have seen her compete before. They know what's coming. At 2:20 p.m., Margaret addresses the room. She's standing in the center of the mat in a gray wrestling singlet. Her arms are crossed. Her voice carries easily. "I'm here today to demonstrate something simple. Grappling is the foundation of all fighting. If you can't wrestle, you can't fight. I don't care what belt you wear. I don't care what style you practice. Karate, kung fu, taekwondo. If I get my hands on you, your black belt means nothing. Your fancy kicks mean nothing. Your movie techniques mean nothing. I've proven this 34 times against men bigger than most of you. So, who wants to be number 35? The gymnasium is quiet. Some men look away. Some study their shoes. Margaret's reputation is well known. Nobody wants to be the next highlight on her record. Then she adds something she shouldn't. "I see we have some Asian martial arts practitioners here today. Wing Chun? Jeet Kune Do?" She's read the guest list. She knows who's been invited. "Perfect. This will be a good education for everyone. Let me show you what happens when a real fighter meets a performer." In a folding chair near the back wall, a compact man in a plain black t-shirt and dark slacks uncrosses his legs. He's been sitting quietly, watching, listening. He weighs 135 pounds. He stands 5 feet 7 inches tall. He has no wrestling credentials, no grappling rank, no singlet, no wrestling shoes. The man sitting next to him, Dan Inosanto, his student, his friend, leans over and whispers, "She's trying to bait you." The small man smiles. Barely. "She succeeded," he says. Bruce Lee stands up. 40 heads turn. Those who recognize him, maybe 6 or 7 people in the room, inhale sharply. The rest see a slim man who looks like he wandered in from a college campus. He walks toward the mat. His footsteps are silent on the concrete, then on the canvas. Margaret watches him approach. Her expression shifts. Confusion first, then amusement. "You?" she says. "You want to grapple?" "You said any martial artist. I'm a martial artist." "You're 130 pounds. 135. This is grappling, not a kung fu movie. I understand the rules." Margaret looks at Wally J. Wally nods, a slight smile on his face. This is exactly what he planned. Margaret turns back to Bruce. She's trying not to laugh. "What's your name?" "Bruce Lee." She doesn't recognize the name. She doesn't watch television. She doesn't follow the martial arts magazines that have featured him. She doesn't know about the Green Hornet. She doesn't know about the training sessions with Chuck Norris and Gene LaBelle. She doesn't know that the small man in front of her has spent the last 3 years studying grappling specifically because he respects it, because he wants to understand it, because he believes a martial artist must be complete. "Bruce Lee," Margaret repeats. "Fine, Bruce Lee. Let me explain what's going to happen. I'm going to take you down, I'm going to pin you, and it's going to take less than 30 seconds. Nothing personal, just physics." "I appreciate the warning," Bruce says. He steps onto the mat. The visual contrast is almost absurd. Margaret stands 5'11". Bruce stands 5'7". 4 inches of height difference, but the mass discrepancy is grotesque. Margaret weighs 230 pounds. Bruce weighs 135 pounds. She outweighs him by 95 pounds. Her thighs are thicker than his waist. Her arms are nearly twice the circumference of his. She looks like she could pick him up with one hand. He looks like he could blow away in a strong wind. David and Goliath. Except David doesn't have a sling, doesn't have a stone, doesn't even have wrestling shoes. Wally J steps to the edge of the mat. Modified rules. Takedown score, pin score, submissions end the match. No strikes, no kicks, no eye gouging, grappling only. Both parties agree? Margaret nods. Bruce nods. Begin. Margaret moves first. She always moves first. She drives forward, shooting for a double-leg takedown, a wrestling fundamental. Both hands reaching for Bruce's hips, head low, driving with her powerful legs. She's executed this technique 10,000 times. It takes her 1.2 seconds to close the distance. Bruce is not there. He's moved laterally. Chi-Sao sensitivity, the trained reflexes of Wing Chun, has read the commitment in her body before she fully launches. He sidesteps, 4 inches to the left, just enough. Margaret's hands grasp air. Her momentum carries her forward. She stumbles, recovers, resets. The spectators lean forward. Margaret's double leg has never missed. Never. She sets again, crouches lower. This time she feints left, shoots right. A more sophisticated entry. Level change to single leg, reaching for Bruce's lead leg. Bruce's lead leg isn't there. He's adjusted his stance, weight shifted, leg withdrawn, replaced with a subtle angle change that puts him outside Margaret's reach by 6 inches. 6 inches might as well be 6 miles. Margaret's face changes. The amusement is gone, replaced by something harder. Focus. She's faced fast opponents before. Speed doesn't bother her. She just needs one grip, one connection. Once she touches him, it's over. She changes strategy. Instead of shooting, she advances, arms wide, trying to establish an overhook or an underhook, clinch range. Greco-Roman. Her strength advantage is overwhelming in the clinch. She needs to get her hands on him. Bruce allows her to close distance. The crowd tenses. This looks like a mistake. Margaret reaches for his neck, her right hand shooting for a collar tie, a controlling grip behind the head. Her left hand sweeps for his arm, looking for an underhook. Her hands are fast for her size, years of training, thousands of gripping exchanges. But Bruce's Pak Sao, the slapping deflection of Wing Chun, redirects her right hand. Not blocking, redirecting, changing the angle by 3 inches. Her collar tie misses the back of his neck, slides off his shoulder. Simultaneously, his left hand performs a lop sao, a pulling hand technique, guiding her underhook attempt past his body, using her own momentum. She reaches for him and finds nothing. Her hands are where he was. He is somewhere else. Margaret resets. 8 seconds have passed. She hasn't touched him. This has never happened. Every opponent she's faced, she's established contact within the first 5 seconds. Some lasted longer after contact, but contact always came quickly. She's breathing slightly harder. Not from exertion, from frustration, from the disorienting experience of reaching for something that keeps dissolving. She attacks again, faster, more aggressive. A Russian tie attempt, grabbing for the wrist and controlling the arm. Bruce allows her fingers to brush his wrist, then performs a Huan Sao, a circling hand technique, rotating his wrist inside her grip with a motion so fast the witnesses in the front row barely see it. Her fingers close on nothing. His wrist has rotated free like a fish slipping through wet hands. The audience is silent. The silence is physical, heavy. 12 seconds in and the undefeated grappler cannot establish a grip on a man 95 pounds lighter. Margaret changes levels again, drops low, commits everything to a blast double, the most powerful takedown in wrestling. Both arms driving for both legs, forehead into chest, all 230 pounds behind it. This is the technique that has ended 34 men, the technique that generates enough force to move a refrigerator. Bruce does something no one expects. Instead of moving away, he moves in, toward her. Inside the arc of her takedown, inside the power zone, the way a Wing Chun practitioner moves into an attack rather than retreating from it. His body angles, his hip shifts, and Margaret's blast double catches nothing but his hip bone at a deflective angle. Her force redirects past him. She's moving forward with nothing to grab. And Bruce, inside her guard now, does something that makes the 7 people who recognize him gasp. He controls her. From underneath, from the side, from an angle that shouldn't be possible for a man his size. His hands find pressure points on her arms. Dim Mach principles. Nerve clusters at the bicep insertion, the brachial plexus, the radial nerve. His fingers press with surgical precision. Margaret's left arm goes partially numb for a moment. Her grip weakens. She feels something she hasn't felt in 4 years of competition. Vulnerability. Bruce steps back, releases, gives her space. The exchange took 4 seconds. He could have continued, could have escalated. Instead, he resets to the center of the mat. Calm, breathing normally. Not a hair displaced. Margaret stands up straight. Her left arm tingles. She shakes it, opens and closes her fist. Feeling returns. She stares at Bruce with an expression the audience has never seen on her face. Not anger, not frustration, bewilderment. "What did you do?" she asks. "I interrupted the nerve signal in your brachial plexus. Temporary. It comes back in about 10 seconds. That's not wrestling." "You're right. It's not." Margaret looks at Wally J. Wally's expression is neutral, controlled, but his eyes are bright. This is what he wanted to see. "The rules said grappling only," Margaret says. "There were no strikes. I used hand placement and pressure. I didn't hit you. I touched you." Margaret processes this. He's right. He didn't strike her. He placed his fingers on specific points on her body. Points she didn't know were vulnerable. Points that bypassed her 230 pounds of muscle like they didn't exist. "Again," she says. This time Margaret is cautious, measured. She advances slowly, hands up, protecting her neck and arms. Defensive wrestling. She's adjusting, adapting, trying to figure out this puzzle. Bruce waits, centered, patient. His weight is evenly distributed. his hands in the Wing Chun guard, Wu Sao and Man Sao, guarding hand and asking hand. To the wrestling audience, it looks like no stance at all. To the 6 people who study Bruce Lee's art, it's a loaded spring. Margaret shoots again. Conservative this time. Single leg, control the ankle, work from there. Bruce lets her get close. She reaches his lead leg. Her hands close around his ankle. Contact. Finally. 230 pounds of Margaret Kovacs with a grip on Bruce Lee's ankle. She starts to drive, to lift the leg, to topple him. Bruce doesn't resist the lift. Instead, he flows with it. As his leg rises, his body rotates. His free leg posts for balance at an angle that shouldn't work at his weight disadvantage, but does because his balance is supernatural. And as Margaret commits to the single leg finish, Bruce's hands find her again. One hand on the mastoid process behind her ear, one hand on the ulnar nerve at her elbow. 2 points. Precise, light pressure. Margaret's grip releases involuntarily. Her fingers open like they've been electrically shocked. The leg she was holding falls free. She steps back, shaking both hands now. The audience is absolutely still. 22 seconds have elapsed since the match began. Margaret has attempted 6 techniques. She has completed none. The most dominant female grappler in the Western Hemisphere cannot hold on to a 135-pound man. Bruce speaks quietly. Only Margaret and the closest spectators hear. Your wrestling is exceptional. Your strength is real. But the human body has points that don't respond to muscle, that respond to knowledge. Strength can be redirected. Grips can be broken. Not with more strength, with understanding. Margaret stares at him. Her chest heaves, not from exhaustion, from something deeper. The foundation she's built her entire career on is shaking. Strength beats technique. Size determines outcome. Grappling defeats striking. These axioms, these unshakable truths, are crumbling on a mat in Oakland. One more, she says. Her voice is quieter now. Please. Bruce nods. They reset. This time, Margaret doesn't shoot. She walks forward, hands up. And she does something she has never done in competition. She waits. She lets Bruce come to her. She wants to see what he does when he initiates. Bruce obliges. He moves forward. Not with a wrestling technique. With Wing Chun footwork, diagonal advancing, cutting angles. He enters her range from an angle she's not trained to defend. Her hands reach for him, and he flows through her guard like water through open fingers. His hands make contact with her collarbone, gentle pressure on the supraclavicular nerve bundle. Both arms drop to her sides, painless but involuntary. She cannot raise them for 3 seconds. Bruce steps back. 3 seconds pass. Margaret's arms return. She stares at him. Then she does something that shocks the audience more than anything else they've witnessed. Margaret Kovacs, the Immovable, the woman who has never been beaten, sits down on the mat, crosses her legs, and says, "Teach me." The gymnasium erupts. 40 people who just witnessed the impossible. A 135-pound man controlled a 230-pound undefeated wrestler without throwing a punch, without executing a takedown, without using a single wrestling technique. He used knowledge against strength, precision against power, understanding against force. The match lasted 38 seconds. In those 38 seconds, Margaret attempted 6 techniques and completed none. Bruce used 0 strikes, 0 kicks, and 0 wrestling moves. He used fingertip pressure on nerve points that most Western martial artists didn't know existed. He didn't beat Margaret. He showed her something she didn't know was possible. Bruce sits down on the mat across from her, cross-legged, mirroring her. The 40 spectators move closer. Some sit, some stand. But everyone is listening. You are one of the strongest people I've ever faced, Bruce says. Man or woman. Your wrestling is outstanding. Your conditioning is remarkable. But it wasn't enough, Margaret says. It was more than enough. For wrestling. But fighting is not wrestling. Fighting is everything. Grappling, striking, nerve points, leverage, timing, angles, sensitivity. If you limit yourself to one system, you are limited by that system, no matter how strong you are within it. But I've beaten every man I've faced. You've beaten every wrestler you've faced, every grappler, every man playing by wrestling rules, using wrestling techniques, thinking in wrestling terms. What happens when someone doesn't play by those rules, doesn't think in those terms? Margaret is quiet, processing. Bruce continues. Your body lock, 600 pounds of force, devastating. But it requires you to close your hands. What if someone can make your hands open against your will? Your double-leg takedown, unstoppable. But it requires forward commitment. What if someone can redirect that commitment? You're not weak, Margaret. You're incomplete. How do I become complete? You study everything. You respect everything. Wrestling, judo, boxing, kung fu, karate, fencing, every art has something to teach. Take what works. Discard what doesn't. Make it your own. Don't be a wrestler who also kicks. Be a fighter who can wrestle, kick, punch, grapple, and adapt to whatever the situation demands. Your system, Jeet Kune Do. It's not a system. It's the absence of a system. Using no way as way. Having no limitation as limitation. Margaret looks at her hands, the hands that have pinned 34 men. I spent 15 years building my strength. Are you telling me that was wasted? No. Your strength is a gift. But a gift is a tool, not an identity. The strongest castle still has a gate. I just showed you where your gate is. Now you can protect it. Or better yet, build something around it that has no gate at all. Wally J. watches from the edge. He's grinning. This is more than he hoped for. Not just a demonstration, a conversion, a mind opening in real time. The 40 witnesses sit in silence. Then Margaret extends her hand. Bruce shakes it. Her hand engulfs his. Her grip could crush bone. She holds it gently. Will you teach me? About the nerve points? About the pressure techniques? Come to Los Angeles, Saturday mornings. Bring your wrestling. I'll show you what I know. I'll be there. Margaret Kovacs showed up that Saturday, and the next, and the one after that. For 14 months she trained with Bruce Lee, learning dim mak pressure points, learning Wing Chun sensitivity, learning to integrate her devastating grappling with techniques she never imagined. She continued competing, but differently. She added nerve point knowledge to her grappling. She studied angles. She learned to feel her opponent's intentions through contact. Chi Sao sensitivity applied to wrestling. Her record improved, not just in victories but in understanding. She later told a journalist in 1974, I thought I knew what fighting was. I knew what wrestling was. Bruce showed me the difference. The biggest man in the room is not the most dangerous. The most knowledgeable one is. The 40 people inside Wally J's gymnasium on September 14, 1971. They talked. They told their training partners, their students, their families. The story spread through martial arts circles like brushfire. A 135-pound man defeated a 230-pound undefeated female wrestler without throwing a single punch. Some people believed it. Most didn't. Too impossible. Too dramatic. Too much like a movie. But those 40 people knew. They saw it. They felt the silence when Margaret sat down on that mat. They heard her say, "Teach me," to a man 95 pounds lighter than her. Margaret, the immovable Kovacs, retired from competition in 1975. Record, 58 victories, 0 losses. She opened a school in San Jose teaching integrated martial arts, grappling combined with pressure point techniques, Western wrestling blended with Eastern sensitivity training. She called her system complete combat. She never used the name Jeet Kune Do, but everyone who trained with her knew where the ideas came from. Bruce Lee rarely spoke about that afternoon in Oakland. Dan Inosanto mentioned it in seminars. Wally J. referenced it in his teaching. But Bruce himself moved on, as he always did, to the next challenge, the next idea, the next evolution. He'd proven his point. Not that Kung Fu beats wrestling, not that small beats big, but that knowledge beats ignorance, that completeness beats specialization, that the martial artist who adapts will always overcome the one who doesn't. 40 witnesses, 7 who recognized him, 1 who challenged him, 1 who learned the most important lesson of her career. September 14, 1971. Oakland, California. Wally J's Gymnasium. The day the immovable met the unstoppable. The day 95 pounds disappeared. The day strength bowed to wisdom, and the most dangerous person in the room weighed 135 pounds.